We came to the place and decided to shoot the portrait in a backlight. This way it is easier to separate flash and constant light. As a result, work with the flash becomes more convenient. We used the following camera settings: ISO 100, aperture 1.4 to achieve desired depth of field, and shutter speed 1/1006 of the second, based on the brightness of the background. The face of our model looks dark. If we want to make the face brighter by changing the exposure, the background will start to be overexposed. And then we have to either accept the fact that the background is overexposed or select a place with a dark background, but we don't want to do it, or to return the previous settings and light up the dark face. This is what we will try to do. So let's begin. We use an external flash and put it on the photo stand. We use translucent umbrella as a light modifier. Shutter speed 1/1006 of the second, chosen because of the very bright light outside, is apparently shorter than shutter sync. So we cannot light up our model wholly with simple flash because of limitations of the curtain shutter in our camera. We talked about this in the previous video. The fastest shutter speed at which flash will light up the entire frame is 1/200 of the second, but the shot at such shutter speed will be overexposed. So we somehow have to deal with the bright light. To solve the problem, we take TTL flash and turn on high-speed sync mode. Now we are able to light up the person wholly at speeds faster than 1/200 of a second. Remember that when we turn on this mode, the flash immediately becomes about 2 exposure steps less powerful and begins to operate as a constant light. Therefore, changing the shutter speed will simultaneously reduce both the brightness of the background and the brightness of the face. Do you remember how easy it was to work in the example with sunset sky, when we could separately adjust the brightness of the background and the person using the shutter speed? Now we cannot do that. What has changed? Now it is too bright and it forces us to use other uncomfortable shutter speeds. Is it possible to simulate more comfortable darker conditions and to reduce the flow of light that reaches the lens? Of course, this is a natural density filter, or in short, the ND filter. It reduces the light output and allows us to set a longer shutter speed. In our case, using a filter ND8, we were able to take a picture with a flash at shutter speeds of 1/200 of a second, and at the same moment, background looks quite dark. Please note that the ND filter increases the likelihood of the catching the lens flare that makes the photo less contrast. Of course, if we are not interested in the small depth of field, we can reduce total light flow with another method, reducing the aperture, but today we wanted to take pictures with opened aperture. So let's summarize. If our camera has shutter curtain and we want to shoot with a small depth of field with a flash in bright natural light, we have two main options that allow us to make quite a dark background. First is the use of high-speed sync mode, which only can be found in relatively expensive on-camera flash. And second, the use of ND filter, method suitable for any flash. Therefore, the use of the ND filter usually is much cheaper way and in principle more effective because in the high-speed sync mode power is reduced, and thus when shooting with ND filter the flash has more opportunities to compete with the bright sunlight. However, when shooting with the ND filter, framing and focusing is more difficult, and if you want to take pictures of dynamic scenes, the shutter speeds will limit you. In addition, different lenses may require filters with different diameter or special filter mounting system, and it also increases the cost of the method. And finally, as you have seen, it is easy to catch the lens flare, even if you use a good filter. Some photographers prefer not to use any filters. So, the answer to the question which way is better and more convenient is ambiguous. Whatever method we choose, we may face another problem. Both described methods reduce the brightness of the face, and often power of the on-camera flash is simply not enough to compensate the darkening. In this case, some photographers increase the number of flashes. To increase the brightness of the light on one step of exposure, you need 2 flashes, 2 steps, 4 flashes, and 3 stops, 8 flashes, etc.